What's good, everybody? Today, I want to talk about a topic that I've noticed really in the past so many years and really noticed a lot recently. But the topic is people being so confidently wrong. And here's what I mean by that. I have encountered, and this also stems from mainstream media and especially, things in politics and stuff like that. But just even in my everyday life, I've encountered so many people that will argue for something then they're so confidently wrong. And I don't know if it's just pure ignorance or it's like them just maybe watching a video online about a certain topic and then just spewing whatever that video talked about. But it's so crazy to me that people can be so confidently wrong about a topic and not really think that there's another way or another, I guess, opinion out there that could be potentially right. And so let's make an example out of this. So let's say, for example, your favorite basketball team is, let's say they're 1-1, because I think the NBA just started, so they've only played a couple games. So they're 1-1, and you're like having this conversation with somebody, and you're talking about your favorite basketball team, and they're like, "Oh no, they won last night. They're 2-1, like your team. They're 2-1," and you're sitting there like, no, they're 1-1. They're 1-1. They played again tonight. They didn't play last night. And this other person you're talking to is like, no, they absolutely played last night. They're 2-1, and you're just sitting there, right? Like you're sitting there knowing full well that this person is completely wrong. And no matter what you say to them, they're still gonna come across as like, oh no, like I believe this. Like I saw them play last night. And then you go and show them like, hey, like you go to Google and be like, they didn't play last night. They played tonight. And they're like, oh, my bad. My bad. I was thinking of a different team. Right. And I get it. Mistakes happen, but I feel more now than ever, like people are so willing to be confidently like wrong, or at least they think they're right. And so one thing that I attribute this to very heavily is social media and TikTok, something I talk about a lot on this channel. But for example, when I scroll on TikTok or when I had TikTok, I would get a lot of different videos, a lot of different topics, a lot of different things being discussed. And somebody who I would assume is a more of an expert on a certain topic than I am would talk about something, right? Whatever it is. And then I would see that video and whatever they said, if it sounded good to me, I would be like, okay, that makes sense. And so if that topic would ever come up in my everyday life or I'm talking about it, I would reference that video that I watched and say, I've heard it said, I've heard people say this, or I've heard it said like that. Now, very rarely would I ever argue for something that I didn't know a lot about, but I see people like literally having watched one video, let's say on something political, and then I see them just absolutely just spew some of the like most BS I've ever heard. And you know that whether they're like slightly right or incredibly wrong, you just know that they have no idea what they're talking about. And I think very often people just like watch one video on like social media on a topic, and then that is their basis of knowledge for that topic that they will literally debate to the death. Which is so weird to me that people would confidently debate a topic that they know nothing about, then actually do research and admit that they might not be that knowledgeable on a topic. And I've noticed this a lot recently. And I've been, especially politically, like especially during like the 2020 election, I had my viewpoints and I would argue with other people on those viewpoints. And I look back in 2020 knowing full well that I didn't know what the heck I was talking about, and neither did the people I was talking to. But I think once I grew up and I realized that, man, you know what? Like truth can be very subjective sometimes. That if I'm going to discuss a topic, I want to know a lot about that topic. Because if you have a debate with somebody, and I'll get to the topic of debates here in a second, it's really just a sharing of ideas, and people are very unwilling to ever be considered wrong in a debate. One thing I think debates should go back to, presidential debates recently have gotten, I think, off the rails. But debates used to be just a sharing of ideas. And nowadays they're about winning a debate by your ideas just, I don't know, making more sense or rebuttaling your opponent's ideas better. And I really think that debates in general should not be that way. It should be really just two people discussing their ideas and maybe finding common ground. I mean, honestly, they should be able to find common ground, but ultimately getting to the point where one party, or if not both parties, could say, hey, your points I think are relatively valid. I'm going to need to do more research and see if that's something that I can fully get behind. Because I guarantee you, many times somebody will bring up a topic that has a lot of validity to it. And the other side during a debate will just brush it off and say basically like, nah, you're wrong. Like, nah, you're wrong. Like, and not even give thought to it. Anyway, bringing this full circle, I've noticed this phenomenon and what I've coined it is people just being confidently wrong, either so incredibly ignorant to the things that they don't know, but I don't even know if people recognize they're doing it. I didn't even recognize that I would do it at certain points until recent, when I realized that if I do not know, like these topics that I have seen circulate, like I want to know a lot about certain topics before I'm going to debate anybody, or else you just don't sound knowledgeable. But what I've seen people do is they spew whatever they've heard or the very small amount of research they've done. And when they get, a rebuttal, they just kind of throw it to the side and keep going on with the facts or the opinions, as you could say, that they know about that topic. And I don't think most people do it willingly or on purpose. I think it's just a product of people not knowing a lot about a certain topic and wanting to not look foolish and just win a debate. People engaging in debates of a lot of topics that they know almost nothing about. And I blame social media. If you're on social media a lot, you would engage in so much information, like so much data and information is going through your head so quickly that if there's a topic of a video you watch and all of a sudden that topic gets brought up in conversation in your everyday life, you might have an opinion because you do know a very small amount of information on a topic. However, your opinion could be, frankly, uneducated, but you have no idea until you do your research. So I'm going to end the video there. I think I can use this video as like a warning, or just maybe it was just me growing up and being like, if I'm going to debate a topic, if there's anything that I want to know more about, I'm going to have to do the research and I'm going to have to form an opinion that is not emotionally driven, but mostly factually driven. And I encourage everybody listening to do the same. Whether it's politically, religiously, or sports, I don't care. Whatever it is, don't just form your opinion around what people say on social media, but actually do the research. Like really dive into the research, the pros and the cons, the effects of a certain decision. And maybe if there's history behind that decision, look at histories or case studies and stuff like that. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below if this is something that you've seen as in recent times. So anyway, more to come. Appreciate it. See ya.